In the first step, let's take two C plates and two L plates. One C plate is joined to one L plate using two nut and bolts. Similarly, the second C plate is joined with the second L plate using two nut and bolts. This we will call as assembly A. Let's move on to the next step. Now here we are going to use the assembly A, and on top of that we are going to attach a rectangular plate using two nut and bolts at this point here and two more nut and bolts at this point. We are also going to attach one DC motor with motor shaft here and then place one shaft lock on to the motor shaft. We are going to make one hole using a flat rotator and a 0.5-inch bolt. Bolt is attached here. That means we get a hole at this point here. In our next step, we will mount a big gear on to the motor shaft and lock it with a shaft lock. The hole which we created, we will insert one medium axle there. And on that axle, we will have one spacer down on which we will put one small gear, and then on top of that we will put two spacers. We will lock this axle from below the rectangular plate using a shaft lock. Now we are going to construct the seat assembly. For that, we'll take two single bars and we'll place them at perpendicular angle. We will attach L connectors at each end, 1, 2, 3, 4, using one 0.5-inch bolt each. Now these two single bars are then connected using one flat rotator and two nut and bolts. Now this square hole will be mounted on to the gear assembly so that when the gear rotates, this seat assembly also rotates. This we will call assembly B, and this assembly B we are going to mount on this axle and lock it with one shaft lock. And that completes our merry-go-round. Since we are using a big gear and a small gear combination, big gear onto the motor, and on the small gear we are attaching the rotating assembly. The rotating assembly is going to rotate faster